No one coming up is learning this. No one. Most of the chief engineers are IT people today. They have a smattering of FM knowledge. But as far as a good
how long does it take to learn this?
Well, how long does it take to learn it? It's like anything else. It depends on your aptitude for it and all that. I think if you had a burning desire to learn it, you could probably get your basics from the Cleveland Institute of Electronics. I think it's one of the courses.
Well, no, I don't think that. I don't think that necessarily, because to get into antenna engineering, that's a step.
Sure, absolutely. But I mean, you have to have an electronics foundation before you do anything else.
I do have that.
Yeah.
But I'm not enough that I could design a directional antenna or necessarily have the skills to do it. Although I have.
Now,
I have tuned in.
A lot of that skill wouldn't be what you were doing day to day as a chief engineer anyway. That's where you go to your Washington consulting engineers. Work with them on that. So you're not expected to be able to, diplex 1260 with 1290 on the same tower, which would be almost impossible. But so if you have the basic knowledge, you could do it. But as far as small towns versus big cities, more than anything, it was because you got paid more money.
Right.
It really came down to that. And then if you were in a choice situation with some of the little groups back in the day, you could kind of handle engineering for a group. Like Hurley Tribo out of Coma in Oklahoma City did most of the store stations, including Ouija in Minneapolis.
Yeah. But, I noticed listening to the smaller stations, like, you can hear the distortion, but...
Well, a lot of that, a lot of that's money. Let's back up here. A lot of that's because what you've got an owner who, no matter what's wrong, the only answer he has is, can't you fix it? No matter what it is. Hell, he might still
the money's gone out.
That's right. We're talking even back in the day. You might still have Scully lathes while everybody else was just getting rid of their cart machines. So part of it is the dollars in it. And then, of course, is it a situation, if it's an AM station, where you've really got the land for the ground system? And if you're directional, you've got multiple towers, and you need a lot of land for ground system. And far too often, it's too inviting to sell it for a trailer park or something like that. So money. But WHO, and of course that was a well-heeled radio station in Des Moines with hands only. And
but today they still have good. They have good engineering today.
Yeah,
I've never heard them screw up.
Yeah, I would assume they would, and I would assume that they still, and I don't know directly, but I would assume they still have a good physical plant. It's like when AM stereo came out and people were talking about it, my answer was, of course, oh, good, static in both ears. Because the reality was very few people perceive separation. They perceive fidelity. And by the time AM stereo was with us, the audio chains were so junked that putting AM stereo on it, unless you were going to go from the start and clean up the processing and the audio chain start to finish, get the transformers out of line, et cetera, and so forth, you were going to have garbage. And most stations, smaller stations especially, didn't do that.
Yeah, I didn't like it from the start, so I can't say that
it was going to be failed.
I think I could have predicted it.
The fact that the FCC didn't adopt a standard meant it was going to fail. Because, you had Con, who was competing with Motorola, et cetera, and so forth. So,
So we know the money's gone out of AM, but can we get an exact figure for the total revenue of AM stations?
Well, you got a bigger problem. That's actually the secondary figure, believe it or not. Today, with the exception of EMF, which is non-commercial and, religious-oriented by donation and all that, but with the exception of EMF, every major broadcaster is so heavily leveraged that the debt service would choke a pony. And in some cases, you could have every one of your stations sold out at the top-of-the-line rate card and still not pay back the debt. So that's that's the biggest single problem. Now, revenue is declining, that's true, and there are issues. In the 70s, when what Norm Patitz brought back the idea of bartered syndication, which had been dead for the labor why for a number of years. But anyway, it came back, and initially it was just soul stations or little progressive rock stations. Who cared? But by 1980 or so, this is a guy who was pushing shows on highly rated radio stations, and it would be like, well, all you have to do is carry the spots in the program and the one promo in Morning Drive the promo was a 60-second promo, but 30 seconds of it were a commercial. So I remember when this first came out, I pitched a fit, because I said, right now, and that was true still in 1980, our biggest rate card is our national rate card. If we give away this time to barter, all the nationals are going to go around and buy it for, back then it was probably $3 CPM. Now it's probably closer to 3 cents. But, the bottom line is national rates fell apart as ways to get around it. Well, where we are today, the reason I bring that up, is that programmatic buying, I think, is the scourge on the industry. Now, the way it works is, all these stations that have their long commercial clusters have the ability for an advertiser to go in at the last second, and if it's unsold inventory, to basically buy it at rock bottom prices, so that it doesn't wind up being a PSA for free. And they're thinking, well, gee, at least we're getting some money. Well, let me tell you, if the advertiser can go ahead and programmatically get things for 10 cents or 5 cents on the dollar, how long is it before he's not buying drive time? He's just going to programmatically get what he can get. And so we're doing a lot to our bottom line that's an absolute disaster. But as far as revenue, I still say debt service is much more important than revenue when looking at a forecast for the future of radio.
Well, maybe I should have said net income.
Yeah, in most cases that would be zero.
Oh boy. So I'm not going to get a job in that business. They can't afford to pay me.
Well, again, if you're needed, they'll afford to pay somebody. You know how that is. They cut things.
I don't know where the money goes.
Well, my favorite in this last year is the majors have all outsourced their traffic departments. They've outsourced them to India. So
what's the majors?
What's
the name of it?
I mean Odyssey, iHeart, and Cumulus. All right, the people who own the most radio stations.
iHeart. I hate that word, iHeart.
Well, you know what that was. That was Clear Channel wanting to find a way to make it seem like they weren't a radio company. They wanted to seem like they were, a digital company, a multimedia company. God forbid you're saying you got towers.
Yeah.
Those are the three that have the glut of radio stations, and all of them have tremendous debt service. But while they're outsourcing their traffic to India and all that, still, if they need you, they can pay you if they need you.
Yeah, I know. Raleigh, maybe still works there in WHO.
Uh-huh.
So, in spite of their threatened bankruptcy, and you can find that on Yahoo Finance.
Getting engaged soon? Plus, Queen for a Prey and Hide and Geek. I'm Grant Marshall, 2020 News. Flushing Meadows, squalid gold. 1%er New York Mets owner Steve Cohen is auctioning off his 18-karat gold toilet sculpture, The Times reports. Bidding for the Art Deco pot of gold set to start at a staggering $10 million. Strictly for the filthy rich. All that glitters may be bold, since gold diggers are being told the loaded loot actually works. The Mets magnate poised to part with his stool's gold, taking the money if not the run. Some like it hot. 'Tis the thievin' to be folly. Some cross-dressing character's purported package-pinching pork pirating has made him a screen starlet suspect on doorbell cams along Florida's Gulf Shore. Clued looks like a lady's been picked up with a precious pile of pilfered packages, police profess. It's a mixed-up, muddled-up, shook-up world, but this mock-smock walk on the wild side will have to kick off his kinky boots to cool his high heels in the slammer. Falling for men in blue, nyuk, nyuk, schmuck. Some stooge of a suspect in the Sunshine State hightails it in Hot Wheels, cops say, when the heat hone in on a homeboy hiding in a handy house. SWAT shows up, but a search of the stakeout scene turns up no supposed schnook. Suddenly, the sky falls in for the son of a run as he pratfalls and plunges right through the ceiling down into the awaiting arms of the hunks with heavy weapons. The body cam footage should certainly be a barrel of laughs for the boys back at the barracks. And that's what's happening. I'm Grant Marshall, 2020 News.
And there you have it. All right, Ruth and Gurney gonna vote on the world's worst hit records, and you get the final say here for the final few minutes.